Welcome to another CIRF report, everybody. We're going to be going over the energies in the week of the 16th of January to the 22nd, 2025, and I'm calling this the Irish Goodbye. And, probably worth an explanation if you are not Irish or don't regularly do the Irish Goodbye. It's where you leave a social engagement without telling anybody and you just disappear. Hey, where did Chris go? I have a lot of Irish in me and realized that I do that quite frequently. So the overall energy for this week, in my opinion, when you put all these alignments together into one just general feeling state, I think it's going to be the desire to retreat. And I think it's going to be stronger at the end of the week than the beginning, but it's going to be there all week, increasing in intensity, in my opinion. And that's why I'm calling this the Irish Goodbye. Let's go over all the nuances here. This is our overview chart for the influence. We're going to do the same thing for the solution or the recommended kind of action items later. But for now, the influence. Sun opposed Mars is where we left off last week. We're going to start there, but that's going to decay out by the middle of the week. And in its place, there's going to be Sun sextile Neptune. Venus and Saturn are conjunct. That's going to be strong all week, but right in the middle is where it goes exact. Then Sun goes into Aquarius. Then we have a last quarter moon. And all of that support this idea of retreat. The I-Ching agrees with it. The I-Ching is meant to kind of put all the energies together and get us a summary of what that one feeling is when you put it all together. So, in my opinion, this is a great summary because you have Sun sextile Neptune at the beginning of the week, and that represents part of that archetype is escapism. Then you've got Venus and Saturn. There's an idealism with relationships. So such high standards for interpersonal or social environments that a lot of us just don't want to be a part of that. Some of us do, and that's okay. Sun into Aquarius. Does anybody really see me anyways? Remember, Sun is in detriment in Aquarius. And so this ego is not real strong. It's very weak. And part of that weakness is this kind of cloak that Aquarius carries around. Then you have Sun and Pluto conjunct. And there's a massive transformation for egos in a few days' time as the Sun passes Pluto. And so this is the rising Phoenix. And during that transformation, most people tend to self-isolate. Not that you have to. This is not the solution. This is more of the energy. And then, of course, we have the last quarter moon at the end of the week. The Dreambot is motivated by feeling states. It's pretty clear. And time. And that, I think the Dreambot or the collective unconscious is focusing on Pisces and where we have Venus and Saturn in a conjunction. And we're going to talk all about that archetype, but I think that's where the Dreambot is. So put it all together. I think you got a desire to retreat or the Irish Goodbye. All right, let's get started. And a huge shout out to Liz Adair. Stumbles upon some information after 70 years of life. I'm not going to read the whole comment, but absolutely incredible comment and so apropos to all of us that basically she's saying that there's something I said in the report about Venus in Pisces that suddenly made sense after 70 years. And I just wanted to say, shout out, best comment award, congratulations. But this is such an important comment for all of us. Like we throw around, well, I'm an Aquarian or I'm a Scorpio or I'm a Leo. And then you throw your whole being into that category. And that's not how astrology really works. And As an example, I have another client actually with a Venus placement. So their sun, this is a male in the 30s, and has all this energy in Scorpio. So walks around saying, I'm a Scorpio. Well, with that potential, there's a huge potential for really deep, passionate relationships, right? Well, he's wondering why his pattern of relationships is so more superficial in nature, and wanting to end it pretty quickly. Well, it turns out his Venus is in Sagittarius, and so really has more of a superficial flair to relationships instead of that deep, passionate love, affection from Scorpio. So suddenly made sense for him. So basically, my point is, we need to look at all the planets placements to get the full picture of that energy for your natal chart. So anyway, big shout out to Liz Adair. Really, really important comment that all of us need to be aware of. All right, let's go to the Dreambot. And it's there's some interesting things here. For the first one is 2023. The year 2023 comes back and hits about 50% in the middle of our Dreambot. Number one is Monday. Okay, all these time words: 2025, January, never, before, blah blah blah. So time and timeline are important. Notice that emphasis is like most of the words in the top half of the Dreambot, the collective unconscious, is where the time-based words are. So timeline. We jumping timelines? I don't know. It's not the first time that this meme has been in the Dreambot, but it's interesting that 2023 is there. Why? Doesn't make any sense. Shouldn't be. So that's the question. Should be understood as why. We need to brainstorm there. All right. And then the red arrows are all about feeling states and action items from the feeling state. So it's like very motivated. And it's not like any particular motivation or any sort of behavior. It's just motivated by feeling states. That seems to match the Pisces, in my opinion. You are here in this eclipse cycle. No, don't worry. There's no eclipse this week. We're smashed between a full moon in Cancer from last week and then heading towards a new moon. So we have a last quarter moon here in this week. We're in between these two vertical lines on this chart, and I just wanted to show how much is happening in the middle of the week. These dates show when like something goes exact. So this 19 right here represents Venus and Saturn going exact on the 19th. It's really on the 18th, but the time on this chart is based on UTC. There's Zulu time, so that's why you have, but just basically big picture, a lot happening right in the middle of the week. All right, now this chart is the overall feeling state that we're guessing is going to be felt by all of us, which is the desire to retreat. It starts fairly, moderately. I think people who are more inclined to retreat are going to have this much stronger, but it's going to go up until Sunday and it's going to plateau, but this is going to go up because the sun goes into Aquarius. And not that you have to be isolated if you're an Aquarian, quite, like some people are quite the opposite, but it has this retreat sort of flair to it. Ironically, Aquarius is also with social, about like friendships, close friendships. And then last quarter moon hits, and that's why this desire to retreat is much higher at the end of the week. All right, let's just kind of go through an overview of the major energies. The first off is, we stopped last week towards the end of the week with the Mars and Sun in an opposition. Sun is in Capricorn, Mars is retreating in retrograde in Cancer. And so this energy is still dominant. And then this will quickly decay out, especially in the middle of the week when Sun goes into Aquarius. this really technically doesn't age out. It's just all these other energies overpower it, like sun going into Aquarius. But remember, this is apropos or relevant for a couple of days here. And so this alignment represents a significant tension between the pushing forward, sun in Capricorn, versus the need for emotional protection, security, nurturing from Mars in Cancer. So going to feel a greater emotional awareness and resilience, inner conflict between assertiveness and emotional sensitivity. So these things are not like retreating, but here's some things that are, in my opinion. Venus and Saturn in a conjunction, then right now on Thursday the 16th, we're looking at only 2 degrees of orb. So they're already pretty tight. This will go exact here in a few days. And we'll talk about it when it goes exact, but this is pretty strong. And this is an idealism in relationships. There's a right and wrong in how people interact. And there's a lot of expectations you might have. The Saturn and Venus together in Pisces is like, it brings the idealism of Pisces. So there's like a mental expectation about other people's behaviors. And so there's like a common proper way of social engagement. If that sounds interesting to you, this will be very good for you, and you'll probably be out and about doing your thing. If you're like me and that sounds horrible and tight and proper and all that, you're going to feel this retreat much higher already. Let's see. Then we have Sun sextile Neptune. We're going to talk about that on tomorrow's, the 17th. And then we have this waning crescent moon. So this is post full moon, so it's starting to wane. The yin is starting to get more dominant. And so that too influences us to feel more retreat. Okay, so Sun sextile Neptune. There's a lot of practical manifestation of, well, that's the Capricorn side, but spirituality, dreams, and visions of Neptune. There's also an element of, I mentioned before, escapism. But remember, sextile is an opportunity, represents more of a beneficial item or idea or action item that will produce a lot of benefits for your soul. This sextile represents a harmonious blend between the tangible and intangible. So you can really create your dreams during this sextile. Ability to ground spiritual insights and manifest dreams into reality, but you might struggle with balancing idealism and realism. It's an interesting combination. As far as archetype go, you might be the practical dreamer. How about escaping into a new goal? That would be pretty cool. Escapism doesn't have to be a real negative thing. It can be a real positive thing. Embedding your whole energy, available energy, into a new goal for any sort of Capricorn aspiration would be great. Then Saturday the 18th, there's where Venus and Saturn are exact at 7:26 p.m. And this is the integration of love and beauty and relationships with the structure, responsibility, boundaries of Saturn, all with the realm of spirituality, compassion, universal oneness, togetherness. Remember, Venus is exalted in Pisces, meaning that she's very strong in Pisces. She does what she does. So, but that's a tricky combination because there's just becomes really good at connecting, but there's a should in there. There's a Saturn in there. It doesn't mean it's bad. It just means expectations and discipline and right and wrong, heightened sense of right, wrong and right with respect to relationships. So with this energy, you might feel the ability to create art or music that touches the soul and conveys profound emotions. In order for that to happen, it's not just sort of the, smoke a joint and just sort of stumble on a tune that will touch people's souls. There are those times, but this is not that energy. This energy is consciously like feeling a pressure to produce from a very skilled musician, as an example. It doesn't have to be music, but this is just the example of, almost a professional level, consciously seeing that or feeling that pressure to create. And it's from a skilled and education and going to the technical side of things and making sure it's perfect. And that's the avenue of touching people's souls. Feeling obligation for selfless love, empathy, and compassion towards others, and almost feeling like an obligation to. The risk of becoming overly sacrificial or martyr-like in relationships. Likely of when you're out and about in the social world, especially on Saturday, there's going to be less people who are just chill, just sitting and just like good with whatever. Everyone's going to feel a little more obligation and idealist and proper. And so the image here, it's not going to do it. Hold on. Let me do this. There we go. All right. Not that all of us are going to be out in this environment, but this is just the image of the archetype. So if that doesn't appeal to you, I'd say your retreat probably starts sooner than others. All right. Sunday at 1:59:52. That's 52 seconds. So basically right at 2:00 p.m., Sunday the 19th, Sun goes into Aquarius and gets a face full of Pluto here. But let's just talk about Sun in Aquarius, shift towards individuality, innovation, humanitarian pursuits and ideas and concepts. It brings a focus on progressive ideas, unconventional thinking for sure, and the strong desire for freedom and independence, liberty. So you might feel, even if you're not an Aquarian, maybe an increased ability to think outside the box, a stronger desire to make a positive impact on the world, a greater oneness to ideas or openness to ideas, technologies, and the ways of living. But also it might struggle with conformity and feeling restricted by traditional norms and expectations. That's a hard one for Aquarius energy. Archetypes, the visionary rebel, challenging the status quo and pioneering new paths. Boy, that's a mouthful. More simply, the free spirit, the unconventional thinker, the social reformer, the innovative genius, and the detached visionary. There you go. There's the image. And not that he has to be alone. Aquarius also represents your friendships in a way, and social group. It's an air sign, so it does get along. It's not like Aquarius can't get along. It's just, does he or she want to? All right, Monday, the 20th. A lot happening here. Sun fresh into Aquarius, about to hit Pluto, and so that energy is very strong. We're going to talk about it later. You have Venus now is 1 degree orb, or 1.5 past Saturn, but still that's very strong. moon is getting closer to a last quarter moon. And here we have on Tuesday, the 21st, Sun and Pluto is exact at 1 degree, 43 minutes. You can see the picture down here of the rising phoenix. I'll show you that in full blown later. It's a powerful fusion of individuality and transformation. It's also representative of collective evolution, humanitarian kind of stuff. And this alignment suggests a deep psychological urge to break free from limitations. That's a huge one. Challenge the status quo. It's a huge one. No matter what the status quo is, even if the status quo is utopian, like perfect, which is an illusion, but whatever, like even if it is perfect, Aquarians want to change it anyway. They're going to make what's good, make it better. They're going to take what's bad and make it better. According to them, what they think is better, which may not be better. The alignment suggests a deep psychological urge to break free from limitations and challenge the status quo, bring about radical change in self and society. The rebellious leader challenging authority and empowering the masses to rise the heck up. Ability to transform personal and collective shadows into sources of strength and power, opportunity to become a catalyst for positive change, especially for others to take action. Notice the chains here. This rising phoenix is breaking the chains, right? So it's like a liberty rising phoenix. With this energy, you have the risk of becoming very manipulative and domineering if you don't watch it. You've got the fixed part of the sun in Aquarius. And Pluto, the sign of that deep inner power, the underworld, the power that you didn't even know you had. In the example of slamming the door, in hindsight, this energy is like, holy crap, I didn't know that I even had that energy in me. It's far different than like a sun conjunct Mars, for example. You're slamming that door. You're doing that on purpose to prove a point. This is an evolutionary catalyst accelerating collective awakening and ascension of humanity. That sounds big. It is big. And then on this day, Tuesday the 21st, is also the last quarter moon at 2:30 p.m. It's the great winding down. It's on a T-square, so it's got a lot of focus on it, a lot of pressure to wind down, to high probability of feeling this retreat, this sense of retreat. That's at the same time, not same time, same day as this goes exact. Sun and Pluto are exact. So lots of retreat type energy available for your Irish goodbye. And then on Wednesday, the 22nd, just to summarize things up, we've got still very strong with Sun and Pluto, still very strong with Venus and Saturn. This is 3 degrees of orb, so still pretty strong. And then you've got Mercury trine Uranus is probably the next up. This is big change in thinking, and that's very synergistic with the Sun and Pluto. So that's a very transformative energy. At the same time, your goal-oriented or leadership-oriented Capricorn is getting some very big insights about how to change your world in the practical sense, right? So that's getting very strong as well. All right, time to get to the rest of the influence, and then so we can get started on the solution, I want to first summarize up what we're feeling according to the I-Ching. The I-Ching said 33. What's interesting, the I-Ching said 33 for the influence, but also 44 for the solution. So, something cool for the numerologists, which I am not. Change line was 2. So 33, change line 2. What does that mean? You feel an impulse to withdraw and seek refuge. The retreat you're experiencing isn't cowardly. It's a natural response to self-preservation. The energy feels similar to being in a room that's gotten too crowded, and there's a pressing need for space, clarity, and air. Yet the changing second line makes you feel if leaving is truly the answer. So the feeling that you might have this week, at least socially or introvertedly, a tightness in your chest, shallow breathing, heightened awareness of exits and escape routes, an urge to protect your energy and resources. All right, let's slow down there and summarize what we've got. There you go, with the picture of the Aquarian kind of contemplating. The I-Ching 33 says it all energetically, a feeling this week of wanting to retreat. This perfectly aligns with the last quarter moon, but also accentuates the essence of the sun's return into Aquarius. The ego recedes into obscurity, especially as it immediately meets Pluto there. It's humbled. It's a very humbling energy. And with the Venus conjunct Saturn, suddenly there are high expectations and obligations when in social interactions. This will make a lot of us feel like retreating to avoid those unspoken social requirements. All right, with that, let's get back to our show with the solution. Transition, put the change line 2 in, and you get 44. Liaison. What does that mean? All right, now we're looking for behaviors in here, recommended behaviors that we're going to put into a triangulation. You must maintain firm boundaries while remaining receptive to appropriate connections. Gosh, is that not the Venus and Saturn conjunct in Pisces? Stay vigilant, but not paranoid. Watch for subtle signs and signals. Hold your ground while remaining courteous. Avoid impulsive liaisons or agreements. Do not chase or pursue right now. Instead, like a skilled host, you create the proper conditions and wait for what naturally arrives. That's an important one. If you are present in, your physical presence should be keep your posture open but protected. Move deliberately without rushing. Let others speak first. More often than not, ask questions rather than making statements. So basically what this liaison means is you're not just going to be out and about just for no reason. It needs to be very conscientious. There needs to be a reason to be out there. It doesn't mean to just form relationships with anybody. It means be very careful. It doesn't mean hypervigilant. It means just pay attention. Don't just go with the flow out and about. Don't live in fear. Again, keep harping on that, but that's an important one. All right, now we got to convert the main energy, which I believe to be Sun going into Aquarius at 0 degrees Aquarius, especially with that Pluto there. You're going to find that is in Rave Mandala Gate 60, and you have Sagittarius for Sidereal. We're going to convert into Sidereal because we want to get in alignment with the stars. That's why we do that. And if you don't agree with that, my reasoning is in the introduction video that we have. Go into the show notes and click that. If that doesn't make sense yet, we go into Sidereal. We use both tropical and sidereal. Yeah. So there. All right. So Rave 60, limitation. But line 4, this is where Sun goes into Aquarius, resourcefulness. The reasoned and intelligent maximization of potential within limitations. The maximization of potential within limitation. Makes sense? Pretty straightforward. Do as much as you can. Don't do more than that. All right. Time for our solution triangulation. All right. Remember, we're looking for liaison. It doesn't mean go out and liaison. It means if you are out and about, be careful, be cautious, really get to understand the other person. That means that you're not going to be talking more than them. You're going to let them talk and you're just going to observe and listen. A very Aquarian kind of thing. Limitation, resourcefulness. It means, we're in limits of like karmic limits, like personality traits. Some people think you can change your personality, but my definition of personality, there's a conditioned part of us. All that can be unconditioned, but there's a part of us that can't change, it won't change. That's what I'm calling the personality. So your core personality, you might have gotten conditioned out of the personality. But getting back to your true nature, and that's why natal charts are really important, to really know yourself. A part of that is knowing your limits. Now, granted, a lot of your limits are just mental. They're a belief. They're limiting beliefs. Well, that's not included in here. We want absolute limitations. We don't want to go beyond them, but we want to maximize within those limitations, right? That's all that's saying. That's the rave. Last quarter moon says start winding down. This is your last call to get your stuff, your lunar goals completed from 3 weeks prior. And then we have Sidereal Sagittarius that wants to go and not be held back. And it also wants to philosophize. Okay. And I shouldn't have said want, because what we're doing with Sidereal is we're not doing influence stuff. We're doing solutions. So it doesn't mean that only the Sagittarians get to succeed this week. It means that even no matter what zodiac sign you are and where all your planets are aligned with, it means try to consider putting more effort into being a little more traits, and do your activities in a more Sagittarius style. Does that make sense? So here are the overlaps in terms of what all of these sources have. 1, 2, 3, and 4 is moderation. Just limit yourself this week. Let's go big picture. Just sort of limit yourself. All of our sources agree with this. Maybe the least one is the Sagittarius, wants to do more. But in the sense of attachments, that in itself, the detachment of Sagittarius is a trait that you could really utilize for the retreat. But stay within your limits. Moderation. Limit yourself. You can do stuff, though. You can carry out goals. The last quarter moon, typically we do absolute minimum kind of goals. For some people is absolutely none. And when you really respect the lunar cycle, you'll notice that if you try to do stuff in that last quarter of the month, the lunar cycle, like the period after the last quarter, it'll take longer. It'll be a lot harder. And so by honoring that last quarter moon means you've gotten all your major stuff done. You're not doing a bunch of big projects. If anything, you're getting your energy back. You're rejuvenating, spending your time doing self-care, hiding away if need be. For some of you, you gather energy more in the social world. So go do that. And there's nothing says you can't be social this week. Just because the energy is of wanting retreat, that's a generality. And if it's best for you to be out and social, then go do it. But here's a caution. Sources 1, 2, and 3, so I-Ching, rave, and last quarter moon, recommend a selective type of reception. So what I mean by that is when an opportunity arises, avoid pouncing or pursuing. That would be a very Sagittarius thing. So we don't want to do that. we want to instead put yourself in the environment where your best probability of receiving that thing or getting it done or receiving something is the highest probability. So put yourself in the environment to receive it. That mainly came from the I-Ching, but it's in the spirit of all 1, 2, and 3. And then Sagittarius traits can be used with the rave. How can I maximize my life out to my limits? Okay. This is a great time to philosophize on what has been my limits, what I thought were my limits when they really weren't, or maybe I was ignoring some true absolute limits. Pause. Sorry about that. We're back on. All right. Sometimes we are ignoring our limits, and we need to start honoring those. That's one of the recommendations this week, is really iron out and identify what your true limits are, and then plan out some activities to push yourself further out into your absolute limits, absolute karmic limits. Socially, I would say that, well, first of all, you do you, but it looks like it's really more retreating anyway, socially, as far as behaviors go. Because number one, the I-Ching is more, probably less is better, less social is better. 2 is, it doesn't really matter. 3, last quarter moon, probably a little lower for most of us. And 4 doesn't imply one or the other. You can have both with Sagittarius. And the yin and yang meter, I think, is a lot more yin than yang. But we're not like full on here because we still have some time left on our lunar cycle. We would probably be full yin on more of a waning crescent, like full on lower levels there. So, all right, that wraps it up. How'd we do today? Are you guys ready? Did I get you prepared for this week? If you have questions, put those below. And if you want to support the channel, one way you can do that is go look at the comments. You don't even have to comment, but just at least put an up arrow or a like on one of the comments that you like the most. All right, that's how our award system works. All right, everybody, have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Namaste.